You're listening to Linked AM. Tell your story on Linked Live and get noticed. You're listening to Carl Wolfenden on the Business Class Show and is not always affiliated with the guests and the topics discussed. Any financial statements are the opinions of the individual, and you should seek professional advice before making any decisions. Upgrade your listening to Business Class, the show that puts you in the big leather comfy seats. So sit back and enjoy our take on the trending business issues of the week.
Howdy, folks. Here he is, the Texas Brit, the guy with the stiff upper lip, filling his 10-gallon hat and his cowboy boots, Carl Wolfenden.
Good morning, and welcome to Linked AM, and welcome to this great show. I've been actually looking forward to this conversation because, as you all know, I co-own a company called Connexus, and the vision and the mission of that company is really to connect people together, consumers, customers, clients, etc. Started off, back in the day, and we've sort of formalized this new company called Connexus, and we created a new sort of solution suite called Sales Assistant, and our partner in this is a company called Demand Jump. And what they do, it's actually quite an amazing story, background story, and I'm sure I'll go into it in more detail at another time. But I really wanted to really just jump into a topic that we were having off mic a few days ago, and we were saying, look, we've got to really tell the story about why is it important for businesses to be connecting to where their customers are. And it's funny, I used to say, if I knew where all my customers were, I'd be a millionaire. And then a sales manager said, well, if I knew where all my competitors' customers are, I can steal them and then make you a millionaire. So it was like, okay, well, that's interesting. And as you'll find out, this is the type of technology that we've actually partnered with Demand Jump on Sales Assistant. So anyway, I brought Brennan Walker, who is actually the director of digital strategy and solution consulting. And he's on the studio line today. Hello, Brennan. How you doing?
Hello. I'm doing great. Happy Wednesday.
Oh my goodness! Hump day.
Yeah.
It's. I think it's a bit old, that isn't it now? But hey, I'm dated.
Yeah.
I love it. So, we were talking a couple of days ago when we were putting all together Sales Assistant and your platform, etc. We were talking about digital transformation, didn't we? That was a word that came up throughout the conversation. And so, what does digital transformation mean to you over at Demand Jump?
Again, thanks for having me, Carl. It's great to be here. And just overall, I would say digital transformation for us at Demand Jump is just the idea of taking outdated processes and workflows that used to be manual and really just taking that and building a software around it or buying a software around it to really help streamline your day in, day out tactics and tasks that a lot of people have. And what we've seen with companies that embrace digital transformation is that really just allows you to save time, team, and budget. And that at the end of the day is what people are looking to do, right? Is just to optimize everything around the business. And really overall, like why it's become so important today is just the idea that, and we see it a lot more in these large manufacturers, large CPG companies that have relied on channel partners or these sorts of older dated tactics, is they started to see their market share get chipped away by these smaller, more agile folks, right, that are digital first. And those folks were able to really, because of how agile they were able to tell their story and align to the consumer before those larger companies could even be a part of the conversation. And so due to this market shift of how people are searching and everything being digital first, is just these large companies and just older companies have to embrace digital transformation to adjust how they go to market.
What you just said is really in alignment with a lot of the things that we've been talking about for the past few years, and on the show and when I'm talking to clients as well. What I'm finding is more and more consumers and customers are doing pre-research, pre-sale research, and so they've already decided ahead of the game, who they're going to choose to buy from and what product they're going to buy because they've researched it. And so it seems to be that that's becoming an ever increasing part of the sales process. I call it the buyer's cycle, not the seller's cycle now, because it's the buyer's cycle. You got to know where those people are, don't you?
I love how you just framed that, because historically marketers at companies would just sell what they thought they were selling, right? And they didn't really take the buyer or the consumer into that decision-making process. So there's always that misalignment. And so we are absolutely seeing that, right? I mean, 100% the end consumer, the end customer is so much more educated now. And really think about your own sort of buying process, right? It's, okay, you do a search for something you think you want. You see 5 or 6 different options. You say, okay, now I just bought a set of golf clubs recently. I had no idea what I wanted to get. So I did some searches. Okay, those seem interesting. Then I went to YouTube to read to watch some videos around reviews and how you hit the clubs, right? And then you go and read a review site and think about like all those touch points, right? And that's even before I even went to a Callaway.com or a GolfGalaxy.com, right? And so that's the piece that is so important to understand, is just now more than ever, these consumers are so much more educated and they're hitting 3, 4, 5 or more different sources of information before they get to your brand. And that's the super important thing. Now, how has that impacted the sellers, right? In terms of the revenue that they're driving due to this market shift in the end consumer end, we've seen it be positive and negative, right? And it's all around who's actually embraced that digital transformation process. It's the idea that those bigger, stodgier folks that are stuck in their ways a little bit really have seen more of a negative impact because they're not speaking the same language as the end consumer, right? They're talking past them because they're putting themselves first, not the end consumer. And so we've seen greater revenue increases on the folks that are deliberately attacking and explicitly answering the questions that the end consumer wants. And at the end of the day, like the shift that has occurred is that businesses can't just throw buzzwords and acronyms at the end customer anymore, right? Like that's not going to get them to engage with your brand. And so now the conversation has moved more towards educating the end consumer and being that thought leader.
I think you're absolutely right. And that customer journey, of knowing where they are, etc., is so important. And the other part of this, I mean, we're a big proponent of this because we're a content engine, I suppose. Business Class News, we're putting out stories, we're putting out features, etc. But why is using the right content so important, would you say?
Yeah, I think it comes down to things, and really that first thing is it's the only way you can really tell your story, right? I mean, it's how you can truly differentiate yourselves from others. And that content gives you that medium to educate and communicate those value props or thought leadership that you want to invoke on the end consumer and have them really trust you. And really, at the end of the day, if you think about it, our job as marketers and even businesses at its highest level is to align to what the consumer cares about the most. So if you can do that better than anyone else, you're going to grow your business. And that's sort of the step one. But from a more sort of tactical or technical point of view, think of a pyramid, right? If your content isn't set up correctly, you're building an inverse pyramid because you're building it on a house of cards. And so that's where content is so important, because it has these downstream impacts and influences on obviously your SEO, on how efficient your paid search is, and your other marketing efforts like display. And the reason that is the consumers and now the search engines, right, because they're analyzing and reading your content because they're aligning it to what the consumer searching is, they trust you more. And that's the most important thing, is you want to have trusted resources that are speaking the same exact language that the consumer is searching for.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. And I mean, it was an amazing journey for me when I was sitting down with you and your team and talking about how we're going to build Sales Assistant out of understanding how you can all of a sudden start to take a snapshot of our clients' position today and look at where the competitors are and see what they're searching for, what they're using, and start to become more efficient, as you say, with why are people gravitating to your competitor rather than us? And we saw a lot of cases that video wasn't being used, but the competitor was, and they were getting a lot more magnetism, I suppose, from the consumer. Because anyway, I've just used it. I've just become a new marketing guru using magnetism. But you know what I'm saying? It's like. We saw a lot of people when we started to put the profiles in going to people because they were using a lot of video. That's just one example. And so how, I've just kind of hinted towards, but how does the platform sort of help the businesses, get that right content, from your perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So the way to think about it is, imagine you could rank on a search engine in the first page or first result for one term, right? There is so many things that go into just optimizing for that one term. There's paid search, there's content, there's supplementary, secondary, tertiary terms to make sure to include with that. So what our platform really does is it looks at all the signals that a consumer provides during think of it as like the digital decision-making process that I just outlined, around that one topic that you feed it, right? So you really care about this one thing. So in my scenario I reference would be golf clubs. And so we understand and unpack and then prioritize the most powerful questions that the consumer is asking around that topic, the keywords they're searching around that topic, the websites they visit, and the videos they watch. And so diving deeper into the content example, that obviously those 4 things have implications across the board, cross-channel implications. Just diving into the content piece itself is through knowing those most powerful questions and those most powerful keywords that the consumers are searching, we as marketers now have that roadmap to the content we should be creating and the answer or the questions we should be explicitly answering and the keywords to address in all of the content on our website, whether it's blogs, ebooks, web pages, really everything under the sun. And then our platform, just a little shameless plug here, actually also is now able to really pump out the outlines to really help teams that are strapped for time, provide them just an outline that they can almost Mad Lib their way into a blog post, if you will, around that given topic to optimize for all of those different things around that ecosystem.
One of the things that I love is, as you say, you've just created that outline of how you can create. I started the segment off saying, one of my sales managers used to come to me and say, if I know where my competitors' customers are, I can go and steal them. Well, the problem is that a long time ago, and as you say, those antiquated ways of just going out and doing a scattergun approach of saying, well, I think this is or go on the competitor's website and say, oh, here's a list of their customers as such. Now we can start to say, okay, this is where people are actually at, and this is why they're actually looking at the competitors. So this has been great. One of the things that I love about what we're doing working together is you're helping us become more intelligent. And I like anybody that can make me look intelligent, because that's it's a difficult thing to do, I can tell you, and the audience knows that. But it's in this day and age, as you say, you need to be nimble, you need to be flexible, and you need to carve out more time to actually produce great content. We're a big proponent here at Business Class News about saying you need to have a content calendar. You need to start to put together what are those tactics and those content pieces. And if your platform connected with the sales assistant solution that we're bringing into play can actually help do that, that'll save a massive amount of time. And again, I hear this from CEOs all the time. I want the quickest path to revenue that we can get, and your platform at Demand Jump helps us do that. So we're kind of coming up to, unfortunately, to the end of the segment, but I'm going to have you back on because I think I want to do a whole series of stuff on how Demand Jump is helping, with customer intelligence, the customer journey, the content. There's all those things that we just talked about on a general scale, but I think we need to do a deep dive. But just to finish up, Brennan, how would you summarize Demand Jump and how you're helping businesses and agencies like ourselves?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way I like to explain it, and I do a lot of the demos for the platform. So this is the way I'm going to sort of simplify that process.
Fantastic. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
in a few bullets here is our process is extremely unique in the sense that not really any other software or platform takes that data that is outside of your four walls. So that's our step one, right? Step one is we want to incorporate consumer behavior, competitive intelligence, market intelligence, those things that aren't necessarily related to you, right? We use that information to understand really what does that end consumer want and what are the competitors doing today to inform potential net new opportunities. Step two is then we integrate and incorporate your first party data. So think of analytics solutions, attribution solutions, as well as integrating with like your Google ads, your Facebook ads, any place you're really spending money or executing marketing. So we then integrate that data. And then step three is we now overlay those two things on top of each other to understand what you should do next as a marketer to scale your business. Now that could be create a net new campaign based on a gap we identified with that consumer intelligence information, or it could be add a negative keyword in your Google Ads account, right? Because it's driving wasted spend. So it's through this incorporation of all that data, we can either help you optimize that existing campaign, those existing campaigns you have, or help identify those net new opportunities. And so really like the main value prop for agencies or marketing teams overall is just the idea that we allow you to be more agile by having all the data at your fingertips, so you don't have to hop from system to system to system, export that out, send out a report, and then by the time you actually do that, things have changed, right? So all that data is under one roof, and then with the overlaying of all that data on top of each other, we're providing actionable insights and recommendations. So think of it as one playbook for your team, whether it's your agency, your brand, or both, right? There's one playbook to play from. And so that allows people to really transform their business by putting data first and allow them to scale much more efficiently, because we're really eliminating the blind spots that exist in marketing today and removing that guesswork that goes into what to do next.
Wow! Oh my goodness! Every time you tell me that, I mean, I've seen you do the demo, but it makes me even more excited. I mean, imagine. I mean, I'm going to talk. Imagine, you guys having a business out there and then being able to do that customer information, that intelligence side, and then doing all those overlays. Well, I'm going to put a link to the landing page that talks about what we're doing with Demand Jump, etc., and how we can help your business. And so, Brennan, thank you so much for joining me this morning. As I say, I've already got in my mind a whole series now that we're going to be doing, and we'll be showcasing this on Business Class News. So I'm going to put out all the information, and so appreciate you spending. I know you're really busy, so appreciate it, and thank you for joining me this morning.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to coming back.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that was Brennan Walker, of course, over at Demand Jump. He's the Director of Digital Strategies and Solution Consulting. And as he just said, oh my goodness, I mean, when we started putting this together, I can't express how excited I am. I mean, because, we're having questions asked of us all the time from our clients saying, how can we increase our revenue? How can we have a journey to or understand the journey of our customers? Well, this is it. Demand Jump is that platform, and combining it with what we've done here at Connexus, I'm really excited. So again, underneath this post, there's a link. Go to it. Find out a little bit more information. If you want to have a demo, then just fill out the form and one of our specialists will get in touch with you. So again, as I always say to you, thank you for watching, listening, and reading all this content that we have here on Business Class News and Linked AM. And I think you may have seen that we've got this new show called Channel Talk 101, which is going to be happening very soon. And I'm excited about that because it's all about channel marketing. But as I say, go out there, make some money, have some fun, and be safe out there. So thanks a lot. Bye-bye.